Okay, everyone, welcome back to Dad Space, the podcast for dads by dads. And as a musician, when I get to talk to anyone in the music business who supports musicians and travels and does all that, it's a thrill for me because I love everything that goes on behind the scenes when you can't see the people and everything just works. There's a team behind the scenes that just does it, and it's flawless. And Kenny is part of that team, and he helps musicians and others connect with their audience in a special way. You might not see him, but he's there. He's behind the scenes, and today he's come behind the curtain, and he's come up on stage. He's grabbed the mic, and it's our turn to have time with Kenny. Kenny, welcome to Dad Space.
Hey, so happy to be here, man. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to jump into the dad conversation.
It's a little different for you than some of the other things you're doing, but I'm glad you're here. Thanks for making time for this.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. I love this because I talk about my career so much and the travels so much and all of that. So getting to be able to blend the two conversations about my kids is so meaningful. So again, thanks for having me.
Awesome. And so you do a lot of traveling in your role. Can you explain to people who maybe attend events but don't really understand what's happening behind the curtain, what is your role and what does your team do to support artists on stage?
Yeah, well, I'm on the touring side of things. So, you know, most of you have probably been to a concert. Basically, all of the audio, the lighting, the video, the staging itself. You've seen all the crew working on those shows. Well, a lot of them are the touring crew and some of them are the local crew. And I'm part of the crew that travels with the band working in what's called backline. And backline is all the music instruments. My job during the show is literally to hand guitars off, tuned, ready for the songs to be performed on them, that type of thing. And so, we just travel around the world putting on shows for a living. You know, it's like this big machine of people, leaving their family and putting on shows and productions. A lot of us, that career path is kind of almost undiscovered, you know, because most people don't realize they go to concerts to see the shows, but they don't realize there might be like a couple of hundred people working on that one show.
Wow.
So,
okay, so I got to ask, how did you even start in all of this? How did you end up doing this?
I started in Atlanta, Georgia when I was just 18 years old as a stagehand, which is like a local crew laborer. It's anyone can do it. You can Google stagehand work in your area and join these call lists. And whenever they need you, you know, at a festival or a local concert, you go down there and you start, being directed to do whatever the event needs you to do. So it's a lot of unloading trucks, loading trucks, pushing, pulling things, helping build the speaker stacks and the lighting trusses and the video walls and the stage and things like that. And then once when I kind of got in there, started learning about the industry and all these different career paths, I found my path, which is called backline, all the music instruments on stage, and started to kind of specialize in just doing that. And then after about 2 years or a little under 2 years of being a local crew stagehand, I was working a rehearsal with an artist that was looking for someone to come on the road with them to do their backline teching, their instruments for them. And so I said yes, and that kind of experiences leverage into the next experience and the next and the next, 20 years of travel around the world doing shows, man. The road never stops.
It's amazing. And you now have 2 kids.
Yeah.
2 young kids. It's that Journey song, right? Being out on the road and loving a Music Man, all that kind of stuff is happening in the back of my head while we're talking.
Yeah, for sure.
You're out on the road so much. How do you stay in touch with the kids? How do you parent from a distance? I'm really curious.
Well, I'll tell you this. There's definitely different degrees of parenting from the road, I should say, degrees of it, meaning there are some parents that are on the road where the other parent is a stay-at-home parent and they're good. They understand that dad or, mostly dad is out on the road doing these shows. That's just kind of what helps them live the life. And they get their time with the parent in between, things like that. That to me is very difficult because I love being a dad. I love being there with my kids. And so for the first honestly, almost 2 years of having my kids, I had a rule. I was only going to take gigs and tours that did not have me gone longer than 14 days in a row. Now I had to
Okay.
turn down a whole bunch of, really great gigs and great offers to do that. But for whatever reason, that kind of hard line boundary allowed me to see really great opportunities, and I got to do some really big name stuff that fit those parameters that allowed me to be home quite a bit. And so there's ways to tour. You could be all in and gone all the time, or like I had, having some guidelines that help you force yourself to be home more. And obviously I've developed over 20 years the relationships and the experience to be able to be that flexible with my career. And so for those that aren't, that I, and even myself now, I've kind of this past year been traveling a lot more than I wanted to. I'm with an artist that had done a tour run, and I was already with them and I really enjoyed being with them, so I just decided to do the tour run. And so this pastime has been more difficult than it's ever been in my career, being away from my family. But really, it's also about my wife and I being on the same page about why I'm on the road in the first place. If it was just there for the paycheck, I certainly would go home and figure something else out to make money. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
It's part of my career, and I'm also building my next phase, which is I'm a career coach. And so I'm helping other people enter into the touring world and get their success at it. And so that business is building up, and it's allowing me to have some light at the end of the travel tunnel where I can come home and be with my kids a lot more by having this online coaching business. Thankful for these times that we're in, right? Because it is hard as a traveling father to be present. You gotta, we like some of the rules that my wife and I have are like, I want to see the kids on FaceTime when I wake up, so I can say good morning to them right before they go to bed. If I'm not right about to start the shows or something like that, I would love to jump on FaceTime and be able to, say goodnight to them. Daddy misses them. And even though the kids might look at you for a quick second and turn away from you or whatever, it's still worth it. It
Yeah.
just helps to be grounded to do that, because at the same time, I have been touring now for such a long time. I didn't have kids until, this latter part of my touring career. So it's an adjustment for me in a big way. I've seen this same situation with other dads on the road where they compartmentalize a lot better than I am. I can do it because, to be honest with you, I don't want to be numb to missing my kids. You know what I mean? I'd rather it hurt so I can do what I'm doing now, which is work towards being home with them more. But the touring career is an expansive, amazing career to have, even as a family person, because of the things that we get to do. Like, for instance, on some of the extended time off before or after a gig in a certain city, say we've gone to Europe, to London, and we're going to start a tour in London, I might be able to, use my rewards that I've built up and the time to fly my family over for a week prior. We get a really cool, unique experience. They get to see the first shows, and then I continue on while they go home. Things like that. So there's opportunities that this career offers my wife and my kids to get to experience, unlike any other, taking them on stages and getting them to, stand there while the doors are open, the audience is filling in. There's thousands of people out there. It's always fun to take my kids up on stage and let them look out at the audience.
It's amazing. I love it. You mentioned your course and your coaching program. Let's talk about that a little bit, because there's going to be people listening going, Dave, ask Kenny, because I want to be a part of this. Tell us what it's about, who it's for, and maybe a little bit about kind of how people can be in touch with you. We're going to obviously continue talking, but right here, I just kind of like for you to get a chance to promote what you're up to.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. This is my bridge to the ability to not throw my career away and create something meaningful that I can do that gives me a lot of fulfillment. Let's be honest, the touring world is really unique and uniquely fulfilling. And so for me, the entrepreneur world, as crazy as it is pretty fulfilling. And the fact that I can coach people, I say I'm called to coaching, I certainly feel that way. I feel like using my expertise and my experience to help others grow in their life and then their touring crew career is something that I'm called to do. And Crew Coach is the name of our coaching group. You can go to crewcoach.co to check it out. But basically, we help touring crew, aspiring and experience, either enter into the industry and gain success, but either way, gain success on and off the road, kind of win in their life. It's a challenging career to be a part of. And so when you can have an ally and a support group to help them navigate some of these difficult decisions and growth challenges, it's uniquely positioned because we need it more now than ever. And Crew Coach is currently the only career coaching group in the entire event industry. There's some mentorship programs here and there, but like we coach people all across the world in this industry. In fact, our tribe is called the Crusaders because we're really deeply mission driven. And so for me, it's cool because not only am I building my ability to come home and be home with my kids with this business, I'm also getting to show my kids what an example could be like as a father. You know what I mean? Where I'm still dream driven. I'm not just going, okay, I've got kids now. Let me quit the road, quit everything, go get some steady paycheck paying job. And then of course, I'll blame it on them their whole lives until they're gone. It's like, no, they're getting to watch dad build something meaningful. And look, it's the same type of sacrifice. I'm just choosing different challenges that I want, because my wife and I also want to do some traveling with our children because we both met on tour. My wife used to tour as well. And so we want to travel with the kids and homeschool them, road school them. And so we're kind of also setting up our lives to be able to do that. So that's really what this online education part is about. Yes, I help people do all of that, but it's bigger. It's about being able to be more of a dad and be home,
Yeah. I've done some touring on a very small scale.
Oh, nice.
tiny scale compared to what you do. But I can tell you that we've brought people in to audition for bands and for stuff and studio work. And it comes down to the people. Like, okay, this person can wail on the guitar, can shred 1,000 notes a second, but they're terrible in a van for 12 hours. You can't stand this person, right? So I'm going to lean towards maybe somebody I can connect with, I can do family with, because you're going to be locked in a room or a tube or a van or something with these people. And finding the right person. That's so important beyond tech skills, beyond being able to play your instrument really well, is what are you like as a human being? So for what you do and how you coach, do you focus on how to be a good person in a team setting type thing like that? Because for me, I always found that to be super important on the road.
Oh, hugely, hugely important. You're right, David. It absolutely is probably 80% of it. We like to say 80% of the gig is the hang, especially in the touring lifestyle. Local events and event crew like that, you still want to have a good connection with people. But at the end of the day, you're getting to go home, right? But on the road, you're going back on the bus with each other. And, or in your case, the band with each other, even close quarters. But like you want to be able to be an effective communicator. You want to learn how to be, which is something that I gained from the road, is being a lot more forgiving, right? Being a lot more patient of people, People have different levels of cleanliness quality and their own levels of emotional control and communication and maturity. And so, yeah, you learn how to live with 13 other people in a bus. But that's why I always like to say, like, being a dad is kind of a great conditioner for that. It's like, I can come home and apply those same patience needs, skills, and all that with my kids. And then I get back out on the road with the adults and I'm going, oh, okay. Man, woo, it's a little bit easier with the adults. Them toddlers, man, they require some patience. And talk about effective communication, man.
Right. You could almost insert the word dad in front of crew coach and just throw it in there and do like a little thing for dads. Take your lessons from the road and help us as dads to be better at home. So you've already done many of these already while we've been chatting. What would you say are a couple things that you've learned from the road, you've applied at home, and it's just for you and your family, it just seems to work? What have you learned about yourself and the people you work with that you bring home with you?
Well, I'll tell you, the most important thing, speaking of bringing it home with you, is your identity. And I'll tell you the reason what I mean by that is in my industry, it's so easy to get caught up being out on tour and being on the road. It's just like, it's exhilarating. You're doing all these shows and all this travel, and it's flights and hotels and tour buses and shows and shows. And, there's this identity that gets caught up in that you end up becoming the road. And even I've seen road people travel, even having families at home and things like that matter to them, leave their identity on the road. And sometimes they may go through a chunk of time that could be a couple of months without touring, that they get this condition we call post-tour depression, because they fail to bring themselves back home with them, so they can actually be present at home. They're always yearning to want to be out there. There's something missing, right? And so I always coach people and try to guide them. Most important lesson is you are not the road. Who you are is your character, your values, your morals. The road and touring and that life is just what you do, because otherwise it's like it creates this real friction at home, and the same thing on the opposite end of things with the veterans that I coach in the industry that have been doing it for a long time. Oftentimes they're just constantly yearning to want to be off the road and be home, which makes the road experience a very difficult thing to be at, and they become grumpy and just curmudgeon sound people.
Yeah.
No offense to sound people.
Yeah.
but that's what ends up happening. And so the reverse happens. And so the biggest life lesson, to be honest with you, is that ability to keep your values and your morals and your character as who you are through all of this from an identity standpoint, so you can bring yourself to your home life with presence and effectiveness, as well as still be present out on the road, because it's not about balance. If you try to balance it, it'll push and pull you. It's really just about appropriating your presence where you can, through the ability of bringing your identity home with you, if that makes sense. I know it's a little bit deep, but that's like, as a traveling person, that's what we struggle with the most, is that yearning to either want to be home or want to be on the road. And it's tough to have that lack of attention when you're sitting there with your children, and it's like you're depressed, or your focus is wanting to be back out on tour. It's a tough thing that I've seen a lot of crew go through. And for me, it's a skill, it's a muscle you can certainly develop as long as you're aware of it, and you understand your triggers. You can really function better when you figure out how to keep yourself connected. So that makes sense.
I like it. Yeah. When you're out on the road, beyond your amazing wife and kids, what else do you kind of miss when you're like sitting there on your own? It's quiet on the bus, or you're on the plane and everybody's sleeping around you. Like, where does your mind go? What are you missing about home?
Well, really just that ability to always have my wife to talk to, like my wife's my best friend. So it's like, the ability to tell her something or show her something so easily, the phone gets annoying, that's for sure. And so you have to respect those lines. But yeah, just the fact that she can't get away from me at home. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe flip that around too then, Kenny. When you're at home and you have a nice break, where does your heart go back to your love for travel and doing what you do? What do you miss when you're not on the road about your job? What is that thing that makes you go, yeah, no, I really love doing this. This is fun for me.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm kind of on the tail end of my career, although I'm currently still doing tours. I just got back from Latin America. I just did a 3.5 week run down through South America, and literally back from Mexico only a few days ago. I'm still doing tours, but this is kind of the final year for me before full-time transitioning into doing coaching. The business is growing enough. There's a lot of people now. And so for me, it's as far as where I'm at now. I'm in this kind of garage space media studio that we've got set up that I do my coaching out of, and my business out of, virtual speaking and talks. I've also hired some coaching to help me be able to accelerate my transition over these next handful of months, to be able to be here with the kids building this next phase, to encourage people that have found touring, to encourage them about the great things of it, because I know how difficult touring can be. but I also know how wonderful it can be if you stick with it for long enough and tap into the best parts of you so you can have the best parts of it. And so for me, man, my heart when I'm here at home goes as far as the garage here when it comes to touring
Nice.
anymore.
Wow, well, that's a nice commute. I like that.
Yeah,
That's good.
man. Yeah, I like that.
That's good. That's great. So okay, for dads that are listening, they're wanting to connect with their kids. Maybe they travel for work. They're on the road a lot. Their heart is at home, but you're really struggling with this whole thing. And they feel maybe at the same spot where you are. They're kind of at a crossroads. They have a decision to continue doing the travel, continue doing the thing because it's really lucrative and they really do enjoy it. It's not like they hate it, but they're pulled home all the time. Feel like they're missing out on stuff. Talk to the dad who might be traveling right now and he's pushed play on this episode because something caught his attention in his eye to come and listen. But they're on the road right now, missing their family. Any tips, anything you can share with them to help them reconnect at home when they do arrive back home? How do you transition from the road and back to dad life and do it as seamless as possible? What do you do?
Well, I think what I would say to you then is I completely know where you're at and where you're coming from. It wasn't supposed to be easy in the first place. If you really love what you're doing at home and you really love what you're doing on the road, you're just going to have to be okay with navigating some of this dynamic and this push and pull. And I think the way to do that is to get back to your bigger vision and your bigger picture. You know, it's if you can really tap into more about why you're doing it as opposed to what you have to go through and while you're dealing with it, I think you won't be dealing with it so much. You'll be appreciating what you're going through because it's going to actually have purpose. It's going to head somewhere. If you do know that you want to be off the road like myself, then, hey, make the decision now to start figuring that out. That way you can still take advantage of where you're at as you're there. You don't want to drop your integrity personally because you're confused, right? And so I think making that choice now to set yourself up with a future and reminding yourself there is a future, there is purpose, there is vision, man, tapping into that is going to allow you to show up at home a better man and show up in your travels and in your work a more connected man as well. And so you can make yourself proud on both ends and you don't have to give up your integrity for either or. So vision, man, that's how you do it.
I like it. I like it. For your kids, how are they feeling about having dad home more often? Have you seen a change in just their behavior or how they interact with you now that you're not just a guy on a phone?
Yeah, it's such a tough thing, man. It is such a tough thing. When they were really young, there was like some moments where like, my daughter's not so open when I first come in the door and things like that. But now it's cool. It's hugs. I've been doing something for the past, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7, 8 trips. All the places that I go, I get them some sort of gift or two that it's always hidden in one of my 2 bags. And so I let them just like tackle my bags when they first get in. They know to go through it and find their gifts that I've gotten from wherever in the world. And so, but yes, in short, behavior change, of course, because, dad's in there, dad disciplines in there, and dad directions in there. There's definitely a different dynamic. And of course, different dynamic with mom when dad's reintegrated to the mix. And so they need their dad, man. There's no doubt about that. They need their dad. And so I feel that more than anything.
I mentioned to you before we jumped on today that like over 60% of my audience are female that listen to the Dad Space podcast, which makes me happy. Speaking on behalf of your wife, let's praise her a little bit. She's carrying all the weight while you're out on the road. She's doing it and doing it with style. To the moms out there who, when dad's away, carry everything. What is your words to the moms that are listening? It's unique that we get to address them here on Dad Space, but they're listening. They're here. So to the moms out there,
man,
what do you want to say?
Man, to the moms out there, there's so much love that I have for you moms. And yes, my wife, man, she is so amazing, so incredible. She and I have decided to do homeschooling and road schooling. So we've kind of begun those types of activities. But she's been keeping all that up, obviously keeping the two toddlers contained, and
Wow.
that's a lot. But on top of that, my wife is a professional actor. She was a dancer on tour for I don't know, 10 years or so at the top level. And she's been transitioning into acting. And so almost every day, whether it's a class or a self-tape submission or something, she's out here in between, taking care of both the kids when I'm gone, still building her acting business. Sometimes, up on West Coast acting classes till midnight or so, because we live in the East Coast. And so she's doing it, man. She's incredible. I don't know how she's doing it. I mean, so much respect that I have for that woman. But I got to tell you, it feels great to be able to support her now that I'm home, to be able to integrate and split some of those schedules. And looking forward to having more of that too, so we can both support each other where we're at. Because it's the same thing with her that I talked about with me being a dad. Is one of the things is showing them by example of what's possible as a parent. And my wife has those same aspirations to show our kids what's possible as a mom. And yeah, I think that the message that I have as the husband and outsider, because I'm no expert here, I just do what I can, is just to remind yourself that you can do it. Like, holy crap, the things that y'all have done and can do, you mothers,
Yeah.
and you got it in you to continue to build it. And so give yourself some grace, some faith, and some props from this dad.
Yeah. I love it. Again, Kenny, it's so great to have you on the podcast and to squeeze us into your calendar. And I'm glad to hear that you're transitioning back into more of a home life and all that. I know there's going to be a part of you, though, there's going to be, you see an airplane go across the sky, you're like, oh, yeah, I know. But I'm amazed that you get to do this. And as a musician, I love anything to do with the music industry. So it was really exciting to have you come on my podcast. I'm sure there are many stories we would tell off recording. That would be great to hear. But the chance to work with great people and see the creative side of what people do and the humanity of these stars that we elevate and put onto a high pedestal. Mm-hmm. They're human beings at the end of the day. They have good days and bad days. Mm-hmm. You're there to see it all. And you're still showing up to help them and help them do what they do and help them reach an audience. Without you guys behind the scenes, none of this would happen.
Well, that's
none
true.
of it would happen. It would be a complete mess. And it's just amazing what happens behind the scenes. And I wish more people could understand just the mechanics of what the machine is behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a Wizard of Oz thing, look behind the curtain. There's a lot going on back there. And I'm amazed that you get to do that. A little jealous. I would love to be a part of that more, but I'm an old man, so I don't think I could carry that. That's amazing. So how about, say, a kid graduating high school, they're thinking about college, university, they're thinking about, hey, maybe I should talk to Kenny. Maybe this would be something I'd be really good at. I got great tech skills. I love music. I love supporting people. I'm great with teams. Maybe I should talk to Kenny about maybe pursuing this as a career choice. Any words of wisdom to people trying to find their spot? There could be some potential new clients for you as well. Who's the right person to be on the road doing what you do from your perspective? Let's invite them to come join you, but who is that person?
Well, I mean, it really just depends. Sure. Yeah. If you're a high schooler or college person looking for a new exciting career, there's a whole bunch of pathways you can certainly take in the event industry. If you are somebody that is people and customer facing type positions, waiters, waitresses, I mean, any age. One guy that just joined Crew Coach, I say just joined, it's probably been half a year ago now, but he found my link somewhere on social media. He joins Crew Coach. The very next day, we were doing our first coaching session. Well, in Crew Coach, we have an education vault full of trainings and things like that kind of get you the foundation, things that you need to know before coming to get coaching on it. And the guy shows up to the first call, And I said, hey, man, the first thing you should do is go into the training and do all that. He's like, oh, I already did it. And I was like, oh, man, that's awesome. He goes, actually, I went ahead and reached out to a couple of the companies you suggested on what I do. And I'm already now interviewing with 2 of them. And so this guy in his first week, he was a 35-year-old Lyft driver looking for a new career. He had volunteered at a festival one time, so thought maybe music. He ends up being able to use the principles that we teach to become top of the stagehand company, these 2 stagehand companies, in the first month. And then within a couple of weeks after that, somebody that was a client on the gigs that they were working saw his worth ethic, got in conversation with him and offered him an opportunity to move across the country for his first tour to start in LA, all within 2 months. And so, somebody like that's driven and tenacious, that wants to maybe find a new sense of purpose in a really cool career, that's willing to put in the work, be coachable, and try new things. I mean, we've got people that are starting in this event industry at 50, because they're worked one career for 30 something years and they want a whole new purpose. It's like, okay, cool. There might be a good maybe year locally to build up the experience and the relationships to be able to maybe get a touring offer, but it's doable. It's certainly doable for anybody that has the stamina and the energy to back their aspirations. I mean, plain and simple. There's no degrees needed. You don't need certifications, nothing like that. You just got to have a willingness to start and work your way up and in, man.
I like it. I love it. Okay, get one more time before we go. Can you promote, let people know where to find you and connect with you? And I would love to be able to send people your way for honoring your time to be here with us. Again, let us know where to go and what we need to do.
I think the best place to connect with me would be on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, just facebook.com/Kenny Barnwell. Or on Instagram, it's at the Kenny Barnwell. But those would probably do the best places to connect with me. And of course, crewcoach.co. If you're interested in some coaching, you got some questions, my email address is on there as well.
Awesome. Any thought of a podcast to support your new business at all?
Well, I'll tell you this. I do a podcast. It's a private podcast called The Crew Room. I do it 7 days a week inside our membership. It's specifically like little micro miniature coaching sessions and kind of life and coaching support for them every single day. And so I'm almost on episode 600, David.
Oh, wow.
Every day, man.
I love that you have that private podcast. That's a great idea.
Yeah, it just helps serves them where they're at. People are on the move, especially in my business. And so I want to be able to be in their ear, continuing to hold them accountable, push them to keep their spirits up so they can go and get them.
Smart. That is a super smart idea. I love that. Excellent. So, Kenny, thank you for taking a break from the kids there and joining us on Dad Space. I really appreciate you making time to do this.
Man, so happy to be here. Thanks so much again for the opportunity, David.
Awesome. Everyone, all the information, as always, is included in the show notes. And reach out to Kenny. Join his community. You need a new crew in life, and this Kenny's got the perfect spot for you. So, Kenny, again, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Hey, thanks for listening to Dad Space today. I'm so thankful that you were here for this episode. If you like the show, please let another dad know. Hey, that kind of rhymed. Anyways, share the episode out with somebody in your circle who would love Dad Space. That means so much to us here for our guests who donate their time to be on the show. And we just want to see this grow. So, again, another rhyme. Oh, wow. Anyhow, I think I need to write a song or something. Thank you for being here with Dad Space. And again, looking forward to the next episode. Look forward to having you here again with us. And if we can help you in any way, if you have a great guest idea for the show, a topic that you would love us to cover, we would love to do that here on Dad Space. So thanks for listening and thanks for being part of the community. And to you, Dad, thank you for listening. And thank you for sharing Dad Space. Catch you on the next one. Take care.